You have to love yourself first before you can bring love to anybody else. See, you start with yourself, but if you don't know who you are as an individual, it's just gonna go over your head. It's gonna be pushed back because you're always putting the next person first. In reality, the best way to start and to bring value to other people is to work on who we are as a person. It's to start loving ourselves. It's to start dating ourselves. It's to understand that we come first. And in order to grow into a new version of ourselves, we have to understand everything that we've been running away from. But see, the thing about life is that it's hard to accept who you are as a person because we always want better. We always want to grow, but we don't see the life that we are today. See, the light is slowly, it's been shined upon you, but as it's been shined upon you, it's slowly been dim on you. As you walk in your purpose, as you start to find yourself, as you heal, as you grow, you start to learn more about who you're becoming and why. Self-love is something that is not taught. And so this video is going to be more about what self-love is and how to build it within yourself. So for the next 35 minutes, I'm going to speak about the power of self-love and how we can incorporate it in our everyday life. First off, we have to understand what self-love is. Self-love is loving yourself to the utmost and really getting to know you. And when you get to know yourself, you really get to like date who you are as an individual. What do you like? What do you not like? What do you like to do for fun? What do you dislike? What triggers you? What are you running away from? What is pain? What is suffering? What is everything that you've been through? But you really have to sit down in yourself, in your pain, in your misery, in your happiness, in your excitement to say, I'm this person because of this. For instance, I'm Terryl Humphrey because I've been through a traumatic experience. Abandonment, my dad went in my life. I went through a divorce. Well, I'm going through a divorce, but how do you learn more about yourself if you've never been uncomfortable? Me learning more about myself taught me that pain is needed. And the only way to overcome pain is to learn more about who I am as an individual. But see, the thing about self-love is that we have to go through pain in life and experience to understand that we come first as an individual. The same amount of love that we give the next person, we're supposed to double that within ourselves. Because if I don't love myself, I can't love the next person like they supposed to be loved. If I don't love myself, I can't love how I can just bring value to everybody. Self-love understands and it teaches me who I am and why. I know I'm very patient. I know I'm very understanding. I know I've been through life itself. So how can I bring value when I understand me more than anything? When I was going through my divorce, it was this book called Single on Purpose. So essentially, it's explaining that you need to be comfortable with yourself instead of uncomfortable, instead of forcing this persona of yourself, this perspective that you have amongst yourself. But as I'm reading this book, and it has, I believe, over 10 chapters. Each chapter is telling you why you should date yourself and why you should put yourself first, why you should learn yourself, and why you should understand yourself more than anything. So single on purpose is really getting to know who you are as a single while you're single, so that way you can walk into your true purpose. Most of us are afraid of being single because we're afraid of being alone. I didn't want to ask my ex-wife for a divorce because I knew I didn't want to be alone. I didn't know what came from her not being in my life. I just knew I wanted somebody to be there with me every day. But see, the thing about having somebody there with you and you not being comfortable being alone is that I became dependent on her. Subconsciously in my mind, I became dependent on her. I don't want to leave. I don't want to get divorced because I don't want to be alone. I don't want to deal with my past. I don't want to deal with this pain I'm currently dealing with. But how do we do that? We have to learn that the process is hard. If I didn't ask for the divorce, I didn't walk away, if I didn't know how to walk away, if I didn't put myself first, I would not be here today. But I had to learn that it really takes time to learn more about who you are as a person. Instead of getting to know the next person, how can I start knowing who I am? What do I need to do? How can I become stronger? How can I walk in my purpose? How can I find everything that I want to do within myself? I need to learn more about myself. I need to be alone. I need to be comfortable being alone rather than uncomfortable dealing with the pain and the misery because it's going to happen regardless of the fact. Now, since I know myself and understand what self-love is, I'm able to bring the value to people to show them that you should come first. And then everybody else come next. Because once you start loving yourself to the utmost, now you know how to give love. Now you know how to receive love. Now you know how to understand what you're looking for. But it takes time. If you're not willing to put that time into yourself, nothing comes from it. Because what happens as someone that's hurt is that we go from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship and not healed. We're not properly healed as we're going from one person to the next because we're dependent on them being in our presence instead of us being dependent on us. And it really takes time. The first point that I want to really speak about is the practice self-care. Like you, I struggled with finding myself. I didn't have a purpose, I didn't have a dream, and I was just lost. I was depressed. Not only was I depressed, I had to find out how to heal. So here's the thing. I created 10 tips to shift your mindset because if your mindset is not right, things will be overwhelmed. My new book is out and it's called Master Your Mind. 10 tips to shift your mindset. If you want a new copy to learn more about yourself, to learn from somebody that went through what you're currently dealing with, click this link down below. Click this link down below because the story is so impactful because it's gonna demonstrate to you that you're not the only one. You're not the only one that was depressed. You're not the only one that was heartbroken. You're not the only one that felt lonely. When you learn from other people, you're able to grow because you're able to see and put yourself in their position. Again, I created a book, Master Your Mind, 10 tips to shift your mindset. In order to get the book, you have to click the link that's going to be in the description. Click it, get it, read it. And please let me know. Please leave a review on how this book made you feel inside and how you're going to use the tips to implement in your everyday life. I'll see you there. In the book, Single on Purpose, it gives you techniques to how to be comfortable being alone. I didn't know this. I didn't understand this. I didn't walk in the path of healing until I started learning more about who I am as a person. And what I've learned is that as I was going through my divorce, I wasn't the only one going through a heartbreak. I wasn't the only one that didn't want to be alone. I wasn't the only one that was going through problems, that had relationship problems. I was able to speak about it. I was able to communicate it. I was able to be comfortable expressing my feelings and my emotions and how I felt about the situation. Did it hurt my feelings? Absolutely. It still to this day hurt my feelings. But as I'm reading this book, it's teaching me that you have to get to know who you are as an individual. Date yourself. Take yourself on date. Take yourself on date rather than waiting for somebody to come into your life to take them on a date. You have to put yourself first and understand that life is going to hit. But if you always come second and last, nothing would ever come from it. Nothing will ever come from it. See, the thing about practicing self-care is that you have to understand you come first before any and everybody. Because if you're not full, you can't give nothing to the next person. Before I joined the military, I knew I wanted to make a change. Back in October of 2018, I knew I wanted to make a change, but I didn't know what type of change I wanted to make. So I decided to go to the military. And once I joined the military in October of 2018, it really taught me more about who I am. I was going in to get some type of working experience. I wanted to be a mechanic. Thank God I did not. But I wanted to be a mechanic because I thought I needed to develop some of my work skills, some work experience with my hands, because that was the only thing I was exposed to. That was the only thing I saw was that people work with their hands. So when I joined the military, I didn't know what all went into it. When we arrived in San Diego and we was getting prepared to go to boot camp and to become a Marine, it took time. I was nervous, I was scared, and every feeling that I had in my heart, it was going crazy. My heart was beating fast. I was hyperventilating. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to research. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know if I should do it. I don't know if I should quit. I don't know if I should go back home. I had so many thoughts going in my head. But the best lesson came when I took the leap of faith and just did it anyways. The military taught me how to be myself because I was uncomfortable and I had to learn more about who I am. The Marines is a phenomenal experience. It was a phenomenal experience for me because I was able to grow and learn more about myself. But if I didn't learn more about myself, I wouldn't understand that there's levels to this. Before I joined the military, I wasn't present. I was just trying to find out what I need to do and why. During the military, during my time in the service, I started to learn more about self and why self comes first. The lesson that I could discover is that I can't pour nothing to the next person when I have nothing to give, when I've experienced nothing. But when I'm able to deliver value to myself and understand that there's a process that I need to go through, now I'm able to identify what type of value I can bring to the next person. The type of value I can bring to the next person is help them understand what self-care is, how to practice it, how to build it, how to understand it, how to walk in it, how to not be afraid of loving yourself. I love myself because I learned what self-care was. To practice self-care, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to identify every emotion that you're going through in order to say, I'm feeling excited because this happened. I'm feeling sad because this happened. I'm feeling emotional because this happened. You have to identify every emotion that you're going through in order to say, I love myself. When you love yourself, you're not as hard on yourself. And what's happening is that you're able to understand the level that you are today, you're not going to be the same level 2 weeks from now. You're not going to be at the same phase a month from now. Why? Because you're constantly working on yourself. Self-care is something that it would never go away. It would never go away because you have to always practice putting yourself first. You have to always practice loving yourself. You have to always practice understanding everything that's inside you that's not really spoken about. But how do we do something if we wasn't taught it? Self-care is the best lesson to have because you're putting yourself first and identify who you are as a person and where you're coming to and where you're going. To build self-love, you have to practice and understand who self is. The next point I want to hit on is identify your negative thoughts. And this is a powerful one. Identify your negative thoughts. I hit on this point earlier, but when you are able to identify your negative thoughts, you're able to feel what's pushing you in a negative manner, make you depressed, sad, overwhelming, and identify that. When you identify your negative thoughts, you're able to heal from that because you know how to work with them. When I asked my ex-wife for a divorce, I knew it was going to break my heart. Like for instance, have you ever seen a glass and someone with the bat, right? Someone with the bat hit the glass instead of a whole piece of glass, you got pieces of the glass. That was my heart. My heart was broken. My heart was shattered into pieces because I really loved her. But I loved her more than I loved myself, and that's what really broke me. When I identified that I didn't want to be alone, it put me in a mindset, in a phase that I did not understand. I felt the misery come. I felt me being emotional. I felt me crying. I felt me being sad. I felt me being overwhelmed. I felt all these emotions because I had to work with them rather than pushing them away. When I'm able to identify every emotion that I'm going through, just the negative ones, let's just say the negatives for now, I'm able to understand that I need to go through this in order to start learning. I need to understand what negative thoughts I'm going through, what thoughts am I understanding in order to heal and to become one with myself. I went to therapy yesterday and I asked her, I asked her, how can you control your negative thoughts? Because I am anxious. I do have a lot of thoughts going in my mind. How do you control it? She says, give it 30 minutes and just sit in your negative thoughts. Just listen to them. Feel them, understand them. Where did they come from? Identify them. You have to sit in your negative thoughts because we have over 60,000 thoughts per day. But you have to sit in your thoughts and understand things are happening for a reason. But why are these thoughts here? A lot of times, as we're sitting in our negativity, our misery, our pain, the answer will come once we're able to walk away. Not necessarily walk away, but to get up and to say, I'm okay. I know why I was feeling this way at the time and place I was feeling this is because of this. And here's the reason. Your negative thoughts will present the solution if you're able to accept what you're going through. If you don't accept what you're going through, you're always going to push it away. You're always going to shy away from it. You're always going to run from accepting the truth. But when you accept the truth, you start to care more about yourself. When you accept the truth, you're practicing self-care because now you know how to love everything about yourself. And that's the beauty behind self-love, is that it comes after the time and effort you place into yourself in order to heal. But again, if you don't understand what that is, we will never walk in our path of greatness. The next point that I want to hit on is to set boundaries. It's to set boundaries. Oh, number three. Set boundaries. There is a such thing as being too nice. It is possible to overstep your boundaries of being nice. When you want the best for the next person, but the next person wants the best for you, now you're constantly pushing your niceness to them, and it's taken for granted. When I learned that I needed to walk away from my divorce just so I can heal and grow, it was so hard for me to say I need to do it. It was so hard for me to accept a negative thought that came across my mind that I knew would be better in the long run. The boundaries that I understood is that there's a limit to being nice. I had to identify the amount of energy and time I'm willing to give someone if it's not reciprocated. It's going to be hard. It's not just my ex relationship. I'm talking about with everybody I come encounter with. People will see your niceness and take your niceness for granted if you don't set boundaries for yourself. Here's how you set boundaries for yourself. Know your limits. What are limits? Know what you can handle, know what you cannot handle. Meaning, let me take it a step further. Let's use the analogy for example. As I'm riding on the freeway and I see somebody and they changing their tire, I will pull over and help them because I know how to change the tire. Okay, that's one analogy. Okay, next one. If I'm driving on the same freeway and I see somebody with the hood underneath their car and looking in it trying to figure out what's wrong, I can't help them because I'm not a mechanic. My limit is the tire. I can change the tire with no problem. But if you're looking in the engine, I don't know what you're looking at. So if I pull over, we're gonna be two confused people trying to figure out a solution that we don't know. The limit that's there is that you have to identify what you're able to handle or not handle. I know I don't know nothing about mechanics. I know I don't know nothing about the engine. I'm not even about to try. But the tire, I know how to take the lug nuts off, the 6 lug nuts, twist it, turn it, take it off, jack it up, then take the tire off, replace it, then put it back down. Easier said than done, but if you're able to understand what you're able to handle, you're able to put yourself in comfortable positions rather than uncomfortable positions. A lot of times, setting boundaries is understanding what you can handle, what you can't handle for the next person. If somebody's constantly asking for things, hey man, can I get this? Hey man, do you have this? Hey man, that will be overwhelming because you're going to always say yes. But what if they ask one time, okay, cool, no problem. Okay, they ask second time, hey man, listen, I can't do it now because you feel me? It's coming repetitive. That's the word. It's becoming repetitive. But now you're able to identify it sooner the second time rather than the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th time. Boundaries is saying, I don't want to do this because I don't have to. That is okay. Now, if the energy is reciprocated, I do this for you and okay, I do this for you, you do this for me, I do this for you and you do this for me. There's no problem at all. The boundaries there is that we constantly bringing value to each other. We're bouncing off each other energy and saying, okay, cool, what do you need? I mean, I need to da, da, da. All right, what do I need? All right, cool, here you go. The energy has to be reciprocated. If your boundaries are not set for yourself, somebody will take advantage of that and run with your niceness because you don't know how to say no. Being too nice is a thing. I promise you it's a thing. You have to put yourself first in order to identify what boundaries you are willing to go through in order to say, no, I'm not comfortable doing this. Yes, I am comfortable doing this, but here are my boundaries. Now, don't get me wrong. When I was with my ex-wife, she said, "Terrell, you don't know what boundaries are." She was absolutely right. I did not know because it was never taught to me. I didn't understand it. I tried to learn from her, but I learned it later than at the time that I was supposed to. That's absolutely okay. I understand what boundaries are now. It might seem like I'm mean. No, absolutely not. I put myself first because I love myself. I know how to build self-love. I have self-care, but I'm not letting people take advantage of my niceness because my niceness will be taken for granted. And once you identify the type of person that you are, how much you love yourself as an individual, you won't have that problem no more. You will not have that problem no more. Set boundaries for yourself is learning how to say no. It's learning how to say no. No is a powerful word, but it's going to help you in life. It's going to help you a lot further than you think when you start saying no. The next point I want to hit on is be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. And this is a vital point. It is a vital point. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. See, here's the thing about life and us as self-love and self-care and self. We are so hard on us as an individual. We don't understand the amount of pressure we're putting amongst ourselves internally, inside ourselves, mentally. I had to learn as I was going through my divorce, I was so hard on myself because I didn't want to walk away, nor did I want to be alone. But it really taught me when I have the power to walk away, when I have the power to set boundaries, when I have the power to identify the negative thoughts, when I have the power to practice self-care, I have the power to grow. I have the power to just grow. And it's really a lot because what a lot of people don't tell you is that being yourself is something that has to be worked on each and every day. Loving yourself has to be practiced each and every day. Learning your flaws has to be practiced each and every day. All these disciplines has to be stacked on top of each other, and you really have to identify everything that you're doing in order to start growing. Self-love, right? Self-love, self-care. But the power of identifying everything that you're going through will help you grow because now you're able to be kind to yourself. Now you're able to understand what you're going through. You need to go through in order to start healing, but it's okay. The day I started accepting the fact that I need to walk away from my ex-wife, I started to heal. I started to be kind to myself. I started to love myself. I started to date myself. I started to really understand that it will be okay. Not overnight, of course, but over time it will be okay. We are so hard on ourselves because we don't see the outcome today rather than in the future. I had to learn that it's going to be okay. The best lesson to identify as you're going through the process of healing and understanding what self-care is that it's going to take time, but as the more time and effort you put into developing yourself, the more you're able to identify everything that you accomplished, what you've been through, what you overcame, what you're pushing through, what you're trying to come, what you're trying to become, what you're overcoming, what you're trying to do, who you're trying to become, the purpose you're trying to walk. It's so much. But again, if you don't put the effort and time to figuring out who you are as a person, to start loving yourself, you're going to be hard on you. I was hard on myself, so I know you hard on you on yourself. But the beauty behind life is that we're able to grow and accept everything that we've been through as we constantly learn. The day we stop learning is the day we stop growing. The day we stop growing is the day we stop healing. But see, the process behind is that you have to keep trying. Identify everything that you've been through. Identify everything that you want to do. Be kind and say, I'm going to accomplish this one day. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the day after, maybe not next week, maybe not 2 weeks from now. One day I'm going to accomplish this. I just know I have to take daily action each and every day. As I'm being kind to myself, I'm learning that healing doesn't happen overnight. Growing doesn't happen overnight. Finding my purpose doesn't happen overnight. There's a time behind the process, but if I don't understand the process, the time will be wasted. And that's why life is so important, because once the moment you start to understand why things are happening where they are happening and you can't change it, that's when you become present in the moment and start loving yourself. And start putting yourself first and start understanding who you are as a person. That's when you really start to love and be kind to what you have accomplished rather than what you didn't accomplish. I start to identify everything that I've been through because I started to take my time. I started to recognize, I started to grow, I started to heal, I started to be kind. Being kind will help you in life because you're no longer trying to push something that's not. You're no longer trying to diminish yourself, be rude to yourself as what you want to accomplish is not being accomplished. Take small daily action and be kind to yourself. The next one I want to speak about is practice mindfulness. Practice mindfulness. Practice mindfulness. Practice mindfulness. So when you start loving yourself, you start to feel different about life and pain and excitement. The thing about mindfulness is that a lot of people are not going to be at the phase and that you're in. Be at the phase and time that you're in because you put the time and effort in learning who you are. Mindfulness is understanding that I worked on myself, but inside of my head, I expect the next person to work on themselves. Mindfulness is accepting people for who they are rather than who they can become. I had to learn as I'm working on myself, everybody's not working on themselves by themselves. Everybody's not working on themselves like they're supposed to because one, they don't know how to, or two, they haven't put the time and effort to figure it out, which is absolutely okay. As I'm starting to love myself, I'm starting to learn more about my surroundings, my environment, and the people that I'm around, because a lot of times what's happening is that self-love, you can love yourself so much, a lot of people won't understand why you love you so much. I put the time and effort to learn everything about me because I put the time and effort and pain and suffering to identify all my emotions. But if you haven't been taught how to identify your emotions, how to love yourself, how to care for yourself, how to date yourself, you won't understand the level of growth that this person is at. I had to understand everybody is not going to be willing to put their time and effort in it. I am, and that is absolutely okay. Being mindfulness is understanding that everybody has a time to do something. If they keep prolonging it, keep pushing away, it will never happen. If they take action today, it will happen. The sooner the better, the later the sooner. That sound good. But you have to, I had to understand that everybody's on their own time. Just because I'm doing one thing doesn't mean the next person has to do it. Just because I'm learning more about myself doesn't mean I expect the next person to learn more about themselves. But how do you do something if you never was taught it? Self-care and self-love is something that's really difficult to understand because a lot of us are holding on to our past. A lot of us are holding on to a relationship that we know that we need to let go. A lot of us are just holding on to so much pain. We are destroying us as a person internally. But the best thing about mindfulness is understanding when the time is right, the time will present itself, and now we can start growing and creating something different. But until that time, I have to keep working on myself. I have to keep putting myself first and say, I come first. What do I need to learn today? I come first. What do I need to do today? I come first. How can I bring value to other people? I start working on myself so I can do that. But again, mindfulness is understanding everybody has a time into their own discovery of self-love and self-care. And that is absolutely okay. Me being patient will understand I know how to communicate with everyone. Me being mindfulness taught me that proper communication goes a long way if you're able to understand where this person is at. And it took time. I put the time and effort in it. So practice mindfulness will help you not sound arrogant, not sound cocky, but more solely sound confident and more understanding. The next point I want to hit on is surround yourself with positive people. Now, this is going to be hard. Surround yourself with positive people. It's going to be hard because a lot of times we think our inner circle, the people that are around our environment, are the people that's for us. It's so hard to learn that sometimes it's not. Sometimes the best environment, the best people to be around are the ones that's working on themselves as well. The best environment is when you understand one thing and this other person understands themselves. Now, how can we build a relationship together? Not just as a spouse relationship, but as a brother, as a friend, as a business partner, as any type of partner. How can we build a relationship if we haven't put the time and effort on working on ourselves? Surround yourself with positive people is saying that you have to surround yourself with people that understand where they are today, instead of surrounding yourself with people that don't understand where they are today. Right? Because if you're constantly trying to grow, if you're constantly trying to learn, if you're constantly trying to excel, you can't excel if you're constantly being around negativity. If you're always around something that's gonna weigh you down, if you're around anything that will really drain your energy, But see, here's the thing about life: as people are leaving out your life, people are coming to your life. But the people that are coming to your life are the ones that's working on themselves. The people that's leaving your life are the ones that's not working on themselves. So now you have a choice. Who do I want to spend my time and effort with if I want to continue to grow? Do you want to work on people? Do you want to be around people that's not working on themselves? Or do you want to be with people that's working on themselves daily, just like you are working on yourself? See, self-care is the lesson to grow. It's the first phase of learning more about how to love and how to give love, how to receive it as well. But as we're growing and learning more about ourselves, we have to identify how our environment is going to change. The people that's around us are going to change. Some might stay, some might leave, but the ones that stay are the ones that's growing with us. The one that's leaving are the ones that's not growing with us. It was so hard for me to accept that everybody can't come to the top with me, because a lot of people not ready. I want everybody to come to the top with me. I do want everybody to come. But a lot of people are not ready and don't understand the process of getting to the top, because you have to work on yourself each and every day. The top is just always constantly growing. There are levels to this. And you have to understand the phase and level and time that you're at today, rather than trying to compare your start to somebody that's been doing it for 20 years. You got to think about the experience and the time frame. That age gap is so different, so vital, so important to understand that as you're starting, you're not going to be here tomorrow. As you're starting, you're not going to be down there tomorrow. But you have to constantly take it step by step, day by day, year by year, and actually start growing and healing. Because what's happening is that you're able to learn more about yourself and who you want to be around, who you don't mind being around. When you surround yourself with positive people, you're always going to grow. You're always going to learn. You're always going to figure out things that you didn't understand. Why? Because you start practicing self-care and ways to love yourself and how to give it and how to receive it. These boundaries are so important because now you know the limit for yourself and what to say, I deserve this. If you don't want to bring it to the table, okay. Now you have the power to walk away because you're around positive people that understand the phase and time that you are at in life. The last point I want to hit on is seek support. Last point I want to hit on is seek support. And this is so important because a lot of times, as I was going through my phase and my pain, I thought I was by myself. I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only one dealing with things. But I had to learn, the more I start to speak about it, the more I start to express it, I wasn't alone. Everybody I came in contact with was going through some similar problem that I was experiencing. And we was able to talk amongst each other for our growth. Like, man, like, how do you feel? Like, I'm asking, like, how do you feel about your situation that you're currently dealing with? He asked me, how do you feel? I tell him how I'm feeling. So now I understood I'm never alone. I understood that there's somebody always dealing with what I'm currently trying to overcome. I just need to find the right person to speak with. I need to continue to communicate how to seek the right help. I just started therapy yesterday. Well, I went to therapy this is my third time restarting it. But I went to therapy and really spoke about my problems. They gave you breathing techniques on ways on how to control your breathing, how to control your anxiety, how to stop overthinking. When your thoughts get clouded, how can you control it? Control your breathing. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. So when you seek support, you're not just putting yourself out there uncomfortable. What to add on to that, you're putting it, well, not just doing that, it's more to that. When you speak about your problems, you're expressing every emotion that you're dealing with. It doesn't matter with who, preferably professional counselor or a therapist, or if you're just speaking with your friends or you're just speaking with your positive people. You got to understand that your circle, the people that's around you, you don't want nobody to judge you. If you feel like you're being judged, then the door is going to be closed and you're not going to continue to communicate. But as we're learning, as we're growing, we're able to identify the pain and suffering that we went through because we know how to articulate our words. We know how to communicate everything that we don't know how to. But see, the best lesson in life is when you're able to identify your emotions and communicate it with the next person, when the next person understands what you're going through and give you some type of feedback. But we can't do that if we don't know how to communicate what we have been through or what we're trying to overcome and what we're trying to learn. When you seek support, you're seeking support so you can start growing and healing, to find ways to implement your everyday life. Support comes from countless of people. I spoke with countless of people about my divorce, and they gave me countless of advice. But if I did speak about my pain and my suffering, I would try to figure out everything by myself. when I didn't know how to figure out everything on myself. You're not gonna know the answer to your pain because you're trying to overcome it. There's people that has experienced what you're currently dealing with, and we need to find these people just by communicating, just by saying this is what's wrong with us, just by saying I'm depressed because my heart was broken. I'm heartbroken because I really loved her. And then the next person will come and say, "Man, I feel you, bro. I was the same exact way. I really loved her. I really loved her. I really thought it was gonna work." But how do you know what the next person is going through if you don't know how to communicate what you're experiencing? The way to recap, the ways to build self-love is to practice self-care, identify your negative thoughts, set boundaries, be kind to yourself, practice mindfulness, and surround yourself with positive people. I'm sorry, that's not in. Practice mindfulness, surround yourself with positive people, and seek support. Self-care can be achieved, but you have to make a commitment to yourself to go finding the answers that you want to look for. And it's not gonna be easy. But if you dedicate and commit to yourself every single day, I guarantee you will be able to grow more than you think because you understand everything that you're dealing with internally, inside. And now you're able to communicate it to the next person.